Hi everybody. Hello to you who is interested in the elusive present moment awareness. This is a continuation of the acceptance and commitment training 6-pillar model towards psychological flexibility, which is a beautiful goal that allows you to work in the moment to be able to create your vision. So today, present moment awareness is what I'm going to be talking about. And if you haven't already, go check out my stories if you're live today. If not, check out the Hexaflex bubble on my page, because I put them in there for updates. And there's lots of little information, bite-sized pieces about present moment awareness. One thing that becomes really challenging around like this and pretty much any mindfulness strategy is that it gets really watered down. We've probably had someone somewhere at some time tell us, that we need to access the present moment and we need to be grateful and we need to be in the here and now. And we start tuning that out because it doesn't mean anything in that format. And so what I want to do is avoid being super vague and talk about what present moment awareness is, what it helps with, and why that would be worth your time. So when we think about the opposite of present moment, we think about worrying about what's going on tomorrow or in the future or about the project. Or we can think about ruminating over, something that happened sometimes even years ago, just in moments where it sneaks up on us and grabs us, right? Those are situations when we're not accessing the present moment. Those are situations when we're in the past or we're in the future. And there is times where that's helpful, right? Like, we're not going to spend all of our time in the present moment because it's beneficial to us. Our brains get information from our history of responding, our history of interaction, to help us predict the future so that we can prepare for it and keep ourselves safe. But then also, when we think about that future, right, creating contingency plans, right, to be able to keep us safe. And that's great. That's one of the reasons we're at the top of the food chain, right? Like, that's one of the reasons that we're, the more evolved species on this planet, because we can predict and we can learn from our past. But the trouble comes when neither one of those things, thinking about the past or thinking about the future, is actually helping you in service of your goals now, right? So sometimes what happens is we get so caught up in the thinking and the ruminating about the past or the future that we have trouble being able to see what's in front of us, right? Being able to usually enjoy what's happening in front of us. Sometimes, there's a safety thing there too, right? Like if you're, thinking about something else and you're not paying attention to what's happening now. But for the most part, what it's doing is robbing you of joy. And that's the thing that usually people want, but usually people have the least amount of practice accessing in small moments. There's usually a certain expectation around what joy or success or pleasure or fun feels like, and then the expectation is that we can only access it in a certain way and when it meets a certain mold, and that's the only way that success or fun or joy is created. But when we instead practice ruminating or experiencing the present moment or ruminating on the joy or the fun, then we get the opportunity to get creative on how we interpret that in the moment. So one example that I wanted to go off of, because it's my most common example, and it's one that a lot of people who I've spoke with have, is that idea of bouncing between work and family. So when you're with your family, sometimes you ruminate about work and you worry about the email that you sent on Friday, if it's going to be received well, or the project that you have coming up next week that you're not quite prepared for. But then you also want and speak to wanting to be able to have quality time with your family. And then you notice that work is pulling you out of that. Or vice versa. You might be at work, actively working with people or clients or on a project or whatever it is that you do, thinking about how you wish you were spending more time with your family. And that cycle happens over and over and over again. Even when you get the other thing that you want, you start worrying either in the past or the future about the thing that you're not doing and that you're responsible for. And the answer to that is getting practice with being in the present moment. And that takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of bravery, because it means something. It means that probably you're trusting yourself. It means that you're allowing yourself to set aside your worry, which is a habitual cultural habit. We think that somehow it makes us more successful. And you can interpret it the way that you will. But in general, people think that if you're worrying about something, it demonstrates a level of effort. It demonstrates a level of thought, of consideration towards the other person, the other thing, the outcomes that creates. And we believe that that's valuable, which it is valuable sometimes, not all the time. And so in the process of our brain, in the way that it works and creates like condensed almost workflows, really, rules within almost like the operating system and how we interact with the world, that doesn't help. Right? Because it's not necessarily true. Those people who you are demonstrating consideration, worry for aren't there to see you doing it. And it doesn't necessarily help you in service of your vision. And that's where it matters, right? So if you're thinking about something and you're learning from the past or you're preparing for the future, to an extent, if it helps you in service of your vision, the whole overall beautiful thing, all the facets of it, that's probably a good use of time. But all of the time, using that as a strategy isn't helpful, because it's probably robbing you of the experience that you're having, right? Like in that example with your family, being able to spend time with your family and get out of the habit, right? Actively switch and say like, okay, I notice that I'm spending time in the past or I'm spending time in the future thinking about work, and I want to spend time here in the present moment. I'm going to keep practicing that. Oop, I see that I got away from it. I'm coming back to the moment. Oop, I got away from it. I'm coming back to the moment. Does that sound like anything? For anyone who's done a yoga practice or who's tried out meditation, that's what the leader is going to tell you, is just, if you notice you get swept away, come back to your breath. If you notice that you get swept away by a thought, just remember and let it go. That's why those types of practices are beneficial in service of generalization in real life. It gives you practice doing that. So when you go in real life where it's more complicated, it's more challenging, you get the opportunity to try it out. You get the opportunity to remember. You have a script to follow. You're creating a new pathway in your brain to be able to walk down. And the more you practice, the more likely you're going to be able to do it. And the goal isn't to be in the present moment 100% of the time. The goal is to just practice doing it more and more and more in service of your vision. So when you have a really cool vision, when you have some clarity around your goals or the life that you're trying to create for yourself, that will be your why. That will be why practicing this is worth it, right? Because this is effortful, it's uncomfortable, and there's not a lot of extra space in your life for more effort and more discomfort. And so when we know that it's going to help you create the life that you want to live, the vision or your goal, that's when it becomes worth it. So when you're starting to practice, or you get hooked by something really scary, and you're giving the effort, remind yourself of your why. Why would you do this? And in one of my slides, I wrote that like accessing the present moment helps decrease anxiety, decrease depression, increase life satisfaction, increase goal attainment or vision attainment. Those types of things are probably the big parts of your why, but only you are going to know the more subtle parts of your why. So getting really clear on your vision is a huge part of that, and will help you to access the present moment more frequently. So health consultant Liga, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I see that you're live with me today. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them either here on the live or in the comments below. Otherwise, anyone who catches the replay, give me a hashtag replay and let me know if you have any questions, any barriers that are preventing you from being able to practice this skill that come up as like a way for you, like you're having a tough time being able to, like, how to start practicing it. For me, I put some up in the slides as well, so go check those out. The ones I'm remembering now are several kinds of meditation and journaling, but there was a few more, like mindful eating and mindful movement, and anything where you're really sensory awareness, anything where you're really practicing being in your body. And to take it a bit further, that goes into RFT, relational frame theory, which is kind of the mama of acceptance and commitment training. That idea that our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, our sensory input, our environment, our historical information is all linked up in a really big spider web. And so the more we're creating our vision and that we can use our senses, we can use our body, we're going to have an even stronger connection because we're using all of the facets of how we are aware, of how we perceive, of how we like upload information into our brain. And so if we link those things up as we're doing it, right? Like if we're being present and we're noticing our senses as well as like the observer state and getting all of that stuff together, we're more likely, we have just more connections and we're going to be able to walk that path more regularly. It's one of the reasons that I recommend dancing or booty shaking to celebrate any sort of win in any sort of thing that's helping you create your vision, even practicing present moment awareness, even admitting that you have emotions that are uncomfortable, stuff like that is worthy of celebrating, and doing so with your body helps to create more connections so that you can walk that path more often. And so in present moment awareness, getting into your senses, like just right now, even noticing like the seat below you or the floor beneath you, or the clothes and how they touch you and where your skin might be exposed to the air, like just being aware of that and noticing it is a really powerful way to tap into the present moment. So, all right, I don't see any questions here, so I'm going to go ahead and hop off. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and next week I'll do another pillar. There are 6 of them, so we've got 3 more. Cool. All right, bye.